It's Nick and Sam, taking you to Jungle Land. Bengals pride, it fills the air. Every week we're always there. Touchdowns, tackles, all the plays. Bengals roaring every way. Stories, news, and game recaps. Jungle Juice, we bridge those gaps. Welcome to the Jungle Juice. Nick and Sam, let's break it loose. Cincinnati, hear our call. Bengals fans, unite us all.
Welcome in to the latest edition of the Jungle Juice podcast. I'm Sam Gormley. He's Mick Nelson. Mick, how's it going?
Doing good. Did I notice the intro song was a little more condensed?
Yeah,
this time
but
around.
you do know, Mick, that if the Bengals do not win on Sunday, we're just gonna have to deal with a minute 45 because if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it's a little shortened for you, but you better believe that if the Bengals do not win, I am that superstitious that I will sit through 2 minutes before every single podcast and listen to the fantastic song. Just because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
I guess.
Plus, it's a catchy song, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great. It's a good song.
You don't seem like you enjoy it as much as
I love it. I love
spent
the song.
hours upon hours writing, and
I have a hard time showing my emotions sometimes, Samuel.
Well, I guess that makes sense. Appreciate you for tuning into today's show. It's a happy show, though. We get to do another victory podcast as the Bengals take on or beat the Giants on Sunday. And then we got the Battle of Ohio, the Boo, on Sunday as the Bengals take on the Browns. We'll recap that. A couple of news headlines as well. A semi-newsy week, but not really at the same time. We'll discuss all of that, though. Plenty for you to join us today. We thank everyone for joining us, though. Remember to follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. We're also on your favorite social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of the different ways for you to join us there. But first, Mick, a couple of the news headlines, and the biggest news, and one that kind of, I guess I just didn't really consider being a possibility, is that next Sunday's Bengals-Eagles game that was originally scheduled to be a 4:25 kick has been flexed out and is now at 1 o'clock in place of Bears-Commanders. I guess I just never really considered that even being a potential for that game.
Not a fan of it. Just to let you know, I might not have a lot of tailgating time that day because I got to drop Sam off to get a rental car at like 11 o'clock in the morning. So if there were a 4:25 game, that would have been perfect. So what the F, NFL?
Yeah. I'm just really disappointed because, and I saw somebody, I made this post on the Houday Nation Facebook page, and somebody responded back and was like, "Are you colorblind?" And I was like, "Well, actually, I kind of am a little bit." But I said that the whiteout at 1 o'clock, it's going to take a little bit of the luster out of it.
Yeah, no, I actually had people like in my office kind of complaining about that today. They're like, well, if it's a 1 o'clock game, just make a different day, the whiteout game.
But they
I
can't
don't even know what game you can make.
Because you're not taking away Stripe the Jungle against the Browns, because I don't think that one would look good at 1 o'clock either. And are you really going to put all of your eggs into the Broncos game being a primetime game as well? And the answer is probably no.
No.
I have not gotten into the Week 17 schedule to see what are the odds of that.
So who else do we play at home? I mean, shit,
You've
we
got
only
the
got
Raiders
5 games, right? We got the Raiders game. That's 1 o'clock game.
You've got the Browns, which is Thursday night.
Oh,
Steelers,
Thursday night. That's Stripe the Gun.
Steelers is a 1 o'clock game. I guess there's an, and again, I've not looked at that schedule. NFL week-to-week schedule. I'll look that up here and see if I can't see what that would potentially be. But even then, like, does Bengals Steelers excite? It would excite us that much, but would it excite the fan base? So let's see. That day, you've got Sunday Night Football is Niners at Bills. That's not getting flexed out.
No.
The late window, Seahawks at Jets. Oh, no, I'm looking at the wrong one. Eagles at Baltimore. That's not getting flexed out.
Nope.
Rams at the Saints and Tampa Bay at Carolina. I mean, Tampa Bay at Carolina, that's a weird 425 game. But still, I'm a little disappointed. Not the end of the world, obviously, but still, I'm just a little disappointed, Mick. But hey.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it. But, oh well.
We'll figure it out.
Get home early that day.
Yeah, see, to me, I was talking to somebody about this. 425 is the perfect window for a football game because you don't have to really wake up that early to get down there. You can kind of
wake up at my normal time, which is like 12:30.
Good Lord, how do you do that?
That's just the weekend, not during the week.
I have not slept till 12:30 since I was in college. It's been a long time since I've slept that late. But it's kind of one of those things that you can sleep until 12:30 if you want to and still tailgate, but also you can sleep until 9 o'clock, get up, have breakfast, maybe run a couple of errands, and still have plenty of time to get down and tailgate. And then also, you're not home at 2 a.m., at least for me, being a 2.5-hour drive home. It's not absolutely late like a primetime night game would be. But still, Bengals-Eagles next week is going to be a 1 o'clock game on CBS. Bears-Commanders takes its spot, which I can understand. I guess at least, you get Jaden Daniels against Caleb Williams, but I also think the Bears are kind of fraudy right now.
I don't think they're fraudy, but I just don't know how this game gets flexed out and that game gets flexed in. Like I guess number one and number two overall pick.
Yeah.
The teams aren't garbage. They're pretty good. I mean,
I just ask, like, I wish I knew someone who is a completely unbiased, like, we need to ask a, like, Cardinals fan or a Texans fan or somebody who completely has no connection to any of these teams and be like, would you rather watch Bengals-Eagles or Bears-Commanders? And I feel like Bengals-Eagles would be the answer that more eyes would be to, but still, I don't know. That might just be me, and also it's hard for me to take off my biased hat.
Sure.
The other Bengals news of the week, Raymond Johnson III is back, Mick.
Hey.
They signed him to the practice squad.
Tommy loves that guy.
He was, he's cool. It's a practice squad. Hopefully we never have to see him on the field, because if we see him on the field, that probably means something has happened to a Miles Murphy or a Trey Hendrickson. But still, it's a good depth piece.
Also, is that a Rookie of the Year showcase game?
The Jaden Daniels against Caleb Williams.
We're gonna forget about Malik Neighbors.
He's been out too. Jaden Daniels is the Rookie of the Year.
I would still if Malik Neighbors is still playing, and he's still only been out 2 weeks, but Malik Neighbors is on pace to put up over 1,600 yards. This is before the injury, and like 160 receptions or whatever.
It's tough to not. It's a quarterback-driven award for the most part. The quarterbacks get a bump.
Maybe a little bit.
In voting just because they're quarterbacks. If the season ends today, Jaden Daniels is the Rookie of the Year. And I don't think it's relatively close. But I think Malik Neighbors is second, and then Caleb Williams is probably third.
He's probably third. I'd say he's third.
But then again, I don't know.
Maybe a Rookie of the Year showcase.
I'm not entirely sure who's fourth, if we're being honest. Jermaine Burton? What? That one catch was great, right?
It could have been Jermaine Burton.
It could have.
They're going to let him loose at some point, guys.
I hope so.
Just wait.
Bengals at the Giants on Sunday night. Bengals won 17-7 in a. I love Chris Collinsworth. He just kept saying this game is so weird, and he wasn't wrong. It was kind of a weird game. I'm sure that we were both in the same mentality, Mick, that in that fourth quarter, we were both thinking, okay, how is this going to go bad? What is going to happen? And it is going to be 13-10.
It was so close. We were one out of bounds fumble away from like fucking, oh shoot, I forgot we're on live air there. Breaking things.
We're not on the radio.
In our homes.
You're allowed to say that word technically.
We were one out of bounds fumble away from breaking things in our own home. At least I was.
As I said, the hat will get thrown. sometimes. And in the process, and because that ball felt like it was on the turf. It was really on the turf for only about a second and a half. But I swear it was on the turf for 35 seconds.
It felt like it was on the turf for a long time.
And in the process, my hat got spiked, and I probably woke up my neighbors because at that point, it's 10:30, at least Central Time where I live, and I was probably screaming some words that my neighbors and my 3-year-old who lives next door probably doesn't need to hear. But I do have Fort Knox waking me up right now too. If you hear that, you probably can't. It's a nice
No.
military helicopter flying right over my house.
Are you close to Fort Knox?
30 minutes or so
Okay.
from Fort Knox. So, but what happens is, and this is getting off topic, and we'll get back to the game, is I live in between the flight path from Fort Campbell to Fort Knox. So they will fly over, but the thing is they fly super, super low. So I'll just be sitting here working, and you'll just hear the pictures start to rattle. And it'll be sometimes at all times of night. They'll be doing, I guess, taking things from Fort Campbell to Fort Knox. But
Really?
it is
Does it
interesting.
keep you up at night?
Nah, not really. It's one of those things now that I've been here so long, I don't hear it. It's like the train. There's a train that's just up the street from me. I don't hear
feel
it
like
anymore.
loud things like that make me sleep like harder. Like, you know how like people seem to sleep really well, like if there's a thunderstorm going on in the middle of the night. Like that's the case.
Oh, I do too. Oh, there is nothing better than a thunderstorm to
If an
sleep.
earthquake happens, that would be the best sleep ever.
See, that would wake me up though because the
It's shaking.
movement. Yeah, the movement. I remember the earthquake that happened. Oh gosh, I don't even remember what. Like, do you not remember that when it happened in Northern
Oh
Kentucky?
no, I remember waking up and they're like, "Oh yeah, an earthquake happened." I was like,
Oh, see, it woke me up.
Could have fooled me. I did not. Yeah,
Yeah.
I slept through that. Slept through that.
It woke me up because I remember I woke up and my bed was just shaking, and I was very confused because it was like 5 a.m. or something. I was like, "What? My bed's not supposed to be doing this. What?" But okay, we've gotten off topic. What do we like about the Bengals and the Giants game? I'll let you start, Mick. I usually start. What'd you like?
Let's just start with QB1 there. I think this is like an underrated game for Joe
I
Burrow
agree
and
completely.
how good he played. Like he was fantastic in this game. Now the box score isn't crazy good. Like he completed 19 of 28 passes for 208 yards. Obviously ran the 47-yard touchdown, had another 5 or 6 yard run. Had over 50 rushing yards, so he looked good running the ball. But if you just look at the more detailed stats here, 0 turnover worthy plays, which is something you needed in this game, considering all of the things that went wrong for the Giants and made them lose this game. We're talking about the interception in the red zone to Jermaine Pratt. We're talking about really the one missed field goal. The other one was kind of a garbage time field goal. But then you look into the other things, 95.5% adjusted completion rate. That is the highest of Joe Burrow's career. The next highest was 91.2% against the Saints in 2022. Had a big time throw. I'm not sure which throw it was. I think it was probably the Jamar Chase, 38-yard pass that he had. But also, I mean, the most important throw of the game was the third down conversion to Andre Yoshibash that kind of iced the game, or contributed heavily into the win.
Until Chase Brown almost gave it away.
Yeah, until Chase Brown almost did that, and then he told me to shut up after he ran for a touchdown there. But no, I think Joe Burrow was incredible in this game. If there's one flaw I think Joe Burrow had, he might have held on the ball a little bit too long on a lot of those sacks. Only one of those sacks was charged against the offensive line. He actually had almost 3 seconds average time to throw, which is definitely on the higher end of games he's had throughout his career. So, just to start off with good things, Joe Burrow was this is an underrated game from him. He played really well.
I got a Burrow trivia question here for you, Mick. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
It's only the third time the Bengals have won a game started by Joe Burrow where he did not throw for a touchdown.
Okay.
Name the other 2.
Broncos.
No.
Raiders.
No.
Oh, really? Oh, shoot. No, he threw a touchdown in the Seahawks game last year.
There was one last year.
But not the Seahawks game because
no, it was not.
Out of Yoshibash.
Correct.
Oh God. Rams.
What? There you go. There's one.
Rams? Okay, that's the one. Can you tell me the years that the other 2 were in?
This would be the 21 season.
Both of them were in the 21
No,
season.
the Rams was last year. So this was the third.
The
this
other
was the
two
third.
were in the 21 season, though.
No, this was the third.
This
Giants
was
was
okay.
the
The
third.
other one was in the 21 season.
Correct.
And it's not the Broncos or the Raiders.
No.
Game. That's surprising. Jaguars?
Maybe think of a game that he got sacked a lot.
Or are we talking the Titans playoff
The
game?
Titans playoff game. So those are the only 3 times the Bengals had won when he had not thrown a touchdown. Titans in the playoffs, last year against the Rams, and on Sunday against the Giants. Felt like it was an interesting statistic there for you.
Yeah, I liked that. Nice. I like good trivia questions.
I felt like it was a good one for you. I thought you would have gotten the Rams one right off the bat because of that was Calfgate. That was when we weren't sure if he was going to play or not.
He did play good in that game, because that was the game where he really could have just went off, but then T. Higgins was dropping almost every pass that came his way that game. So,
and that I think Evan McPherson had 39 field goals that night.
He had a lot.
I think that was the accurate.
He had 4, but yes.
It felt like 39. Speaking of other guys in the offense that had a good game, and you mentioned T. Higgins, and got to give him a shout out. 7 catches for 77 yards. He made some really tough catches too in
2
coverage.
Contested catches in that game.
And those, I mean, he kind of bobbled it a little bit, but he came down with it, and both were good. And I think you're seeing more and more of Chase and Higgins. You can't stop them both.
No. And I think I've grown a lot more appreciation for Higgins this year because he's kind of the security blanket receiver now. I think Tyler Boyd was that pretty much the past few years as the slot guy, the third down guy that they would go to quite a bit. Now T. Higgins is kind of becoming that guy, I think, this season. I can't tell you how many first downs he converted. I mean, I could, but I didn't look that up. But converted 4. I did write that down. He converted 4 first downs in that game. So I mean, that's huge. I don't know how many of them were on third down. I think at least 2 of them were on third down. It might have been 3. But I agree with you completely. He played really well in the game against the Giants.
I think the next thing we got to talk about is the defense. Now, listen, and I want to come back to this in a few minutes is how much of this was they're not playing a very good offense and the offense was missing its best player. And they're starting running back. Now, I don't really know that Devin Singletary is that much of a difference maker, but they still were relying on a rookie who really doesn't have a lot of experience.
I think that they played against the better running back out of those 2.
Yes, and I don't disagree with that. But the defense stepped up and played really well. And to me, the guy that played one of his best games as Bengal was B.J. Hill. He had a revenge game. He played great. 4 pressures, 2 batted passes, 2 quarterback hits. I mean, just overall, B.J. Hill played a really good game.
Yeah. B.J. Hill had a great game. Just to add on to the statistics here, 17.2% pass rush win rate. That's a pretty high number. Forced the interception from Daniel Jones in the red zone in the second quarter. That was a huge play in this game. And if he didn't do that, we might be talking about a different ball game. Also had a pass deflection. Had a pass deflection to force a Giants field goal in the fourth quarter that ended up being missed. Again, just 2 huge plays in the red zone where if he doesn't make those plays, we might not be talking about a victory right now. So huge game from B.J. Hill. It might be one of his best games as a Bengal in the past 4 years. So, yeah, great game from him.
Yeah, and mentioned that pass deflection, too, was with his face, too, which I appreciated. He just got hit in the helmet on it. With the defense, though, as a whole, I know we talk a lot about PFF grades and so on, and you look at it, and it is the first time all season that their lowest PFF grade, which was Chris Jenkins, and I think, what was he, like a 52 or something?
I didn't even
in that realm, 52, 54, something like that. It was the first time that their lowest PFF grade was above 50. They've always had a couple of guys who have been way down in the 20s or the 30s. Guys like, Geno Stone's had some bad games. Pratt, I think, has had some bad games.
Bob Bell's had some bad games.
Yeah. I mean, there have been a lot of guys that have had. Cam Taylor-Britt has had some bad games. So you at least saw that nobody had an atrocious game on Sunday. And that is the biggest thing. As I heard Paul Dehner, he said it on his podcast, And he said pretty much the long story short is that the way that in the Bengals offense didn't necessarily play phenomenal on Sunday, but the way that they were playing is all that they need. Like they need to just play. And Paul's exact line was, and again, you've already made this podcast explicit, Mick, so I'll go ahead and do it too, is he says the defense just doesn't need to be dog shit.
Yeah.
They just need to be okay. In fact, they could even be bad in the way the offense has been playing. That's all they need. They just can't be as bad as they have been. And I'm hoping that it was trending in the right direction on Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. Another guy to note, Jermaine Pratt had a great game, especially in the run defense department. I think he had an 81 run defensive grade, had 4 run stops. A lot of them came on crucial downs in the game that, either spurred into a fourth down punt, or on a third down or on a second down play where they just couldn't make were forced to third and long. Jermaine Pratt just played really well, had 7 tackles on the night as well. Jordan Battle in limited opportunities looked really good. And that kind of just proves to show why he is the question we've been asking is why hasn't he been on the field as much this season? Now, you've mentioned he's had, the coaching staff thought he didn't have a great camp. But, I think he was a big difference maker out there, had 2 run stops on 7 run defensive snaps. So, on those limited snaps, he had 2 crucial plays in that game in run defense, which is something we haven't seen from Geno Stone or Von Bell for that matter. So that was nice to see from him too.
I always like it, covering high school sports, which is part of the thing that I do in my day job. The basketball coach here, and I know it's not his line, but he always draws the phrase "players make plays," meaning that sometimes you just need a guy to step up and make a play. And what you've done the rest of the game does not matter, but if you can make the play when it matters the most, that is huge. And the play that comes to mind on that was DJ Turner. On that last drive, he comes in with a pass breakup, made a really, really good play. Was it on Slayton? Over the middle, I think it was on Slayton.
In the fourth quarter.
In the fourth quarter, yeah. It was a huge play in the game. Got the ball back to the Bengals. It was on 4th down. Huge play made by him, and that's where I just wanted to make sure that we mentioned it. DJ Turner, he had some good moments. And it's
a bad
also,
moment.
To me,
it was a very up and down game for him.
He did, but he made the moment. He made the biggest play when it needed to happen.
Yeah.
And a big pass breakup, so I did want to make sure that we mentioned that into something that I at least liked as far as the Bengals.
Yeah.
Do you have another one? I was going to say I had one more that I really wanted to mention as well.
Pass blocking wasn't as bad as it looked on the initial watch of the game. Like I said, they only gave up 1 sack. They only gave up 6 pressures in total in this game, which is big. I know we were kind of talking watching the game. I think that Amarius Mims was maybe a victim of some bad blocking scheme for a couple of those pressures or one of those sacks. And obviously PFF didn't charge him for him. But he actually ended up having the best graded game of his career so far with the 72 pass block grade, 97.1% pass blocking efficiency. So the offensive line didn't look as bad as I thought it was. So, I guess.
And that's a good defensive line.
Yeah. Oh, that's the best. No, we didn't say best defensive line in the league, but they have the most sacks out of anybody in the league right
Brian
now.
Burns is a freak.
Yeah. No, he had a pretty good game yesterday.
Lisa mentioned too, and I had it listed on mine. Tyson Anderson. He's a guy that we don't mention, and
two huge plays and cut.
Yeah, 2 tackles on 4 punts as a gunner. He deserves a huge shout out because listen, that is gunner is up there with like long snapper is one of the most no one mentions him, but they have a very important job. And the 2 that he made, what more perfect. I don't know that you could ask for much better from Tyson Anderson.
No, you couldn't ask. I think we should start campaigning him to get that Pro Bowl nod as the as special teams ace because he's been making plays like that all year. Now it really helps when you have Ryan Rico punting the ball, having the hang time and the distance that he has, gives Tyson Anderson a lot more opportunities to get the ball or get down the field as the gunner and to make crucial tackles on returners trying to return it. So, I mean, and I guess that's another bright spot is Ryan Rico. I don't have any stats on him, but again, great punting from him. I think he had multiple punts inside of the 20-yard line. I'm not sure what his average distance was, but it seemed, seemed pretty good.
He did his job.
He did his job in that department. Held the ball great on all 3 field goal opportunities. So yeah, good game from Ryan Rico.
What didn't we like? And I'll start with something that we've at least mentioned.
Fumbling.
Yeah, that was it. That was my one. I mean, you think about it last year, 2 all of last season, and there were now 4 already this year.
4 lost. I don't know how many
and there were
had down.
2 fumbles on Sunday night. Zach Moss had one, and then the Chase Brown one. Both of them, I mean, I don't know that there's ever a good time to have a fumble. There's not. But
the Chase Brown one was a really bad time to have a fumble.
Oh, I mean, I'm not sure you could get worse as far as the
And
Chase
the
Brown
Moss
timing.
one wasn't great timing either. Like
exactly.
They were about to score on that drive.
Yes. Now, the question is this something that is concerning? Is it not? And I know they asked Zach Taylor, and Zach Taylor gave what you would expect the answer is it's like, yeah, I mean, we can't have that happen. Pretty much was
what else do you want?
Like it's these guys are NFL running backs, and if you want to be an NFL running back, you can't put the ball on the turf.
Yeah, and part of me wonders if we've just been spoiled by Joe Mixon for the past 7 years, where the guy just never fumbled the football, and you kind of just remember, oh, hey, that takes a special kind of skill set to not be able to do that ever. Which Joe Mixon I think only did it once in 7 years. So. That I guess that's something to kind of take note of is that while we don't have Joe Mixon back there, maybe more fumbles are to be expected a little bit from these guys, from these running backs. So we woke the whole neighborhood. Like I said, Lisa, I was about to start breaking things.
Mm-hmm.
If I was going to break things, if that ended up going back to the defense. So, yeah.
And really, as far as just main things that I didn't like, because I know the social media reaction to it, and I think even our buddy Tommy Lipscomb, he put in there, he says, oh, well, the reaction from people if the Bengals win this is, oh, the Giants were hurt. And my exact response to him was, I don't give a crap. I said, I don't care if they win by 1 or win by 70, as long as they win. At this point, that's all that matters. And I saw, people say, what's the one word that you would use to describe this win? Everyone's saying ugly, ugly, ugly. And my exact answer was glorious. And the reason is because they won the game. And when you're 1-4, Mick, it doesn't matter what the hell it looks like. All that matters is that you had more points than the other team at the end of the day. And the Bengals had that. And because of that, I was a happy camper on Sunday night.
Yeah. I think the one thing I can take away is that we just didn't make as many mistakes in crucial moments with crucial field position like the Giants did. I mean, our one crucial mistake was a fumble while we were threatening to score, but the Giants had 3 crucial mishaps happen. All 3 of them were when they're in, the red zone or at least in field goal range. So, we avoided the mistakes for the large part. I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with Joe Burrow taking really good care of the football, really being on it. So, yeah, I mean, who knows what happens if Malik Neighbors is out there. We can talk about the coverage unit if you want, but the coverage unit did not grade very well. Which is kind of surprising. I mean, we bring up DJ Turner, for example. I think he had like a 59 coverage grade. But if you look at the box score, I mean, but he gave up 1 reception on 5 targets for 8 yards, had a PBU in the game, but he also had 2 penalties in the game. One came on a crucial 3rd down. The other one came in the end zone, which really set up the Tyrone Tracy touchdown that he ran in. So CTB had a couple of nice plays, but also gave up a couple of long receptions in that game.
5 catches for 43 yards is what he gave up. The positive to that is he only gave up 7 after the catch, though. So at least you weren't seeing those missed tackles, which has also been an issue for him.
Yeah, I guess that's another positive, that the missed tackles were kind of to a minimum in this game. I think they had 6 on the day.
That sounds about right. I didn't write that note down.
Yeah,
which is a drastic improvement considering that against the Ravens it was 15, if my memory's right.
Yeah.
I think that's right. I have 2 discussion questions for you here, Mick, and I think it's important for us to discuss. And the first one was a little discussion that we had in our Houday Nation admin group chat yesterday, and it was the question of, should Chase Brown have scored on that last run? It was 10-7 Bengals.
Probably shouldn't have, but I mean, who cares? Who cares now? I mean, they scored it. It effectively iced the game. I mean, they were up 2 scores with not that much time left in the game. The Giants,
if he would have
one timeout,
if he would have fell down, the Bengals could have kneeled the clock out.
They could have. He probably should have went down.
And that's kind of the thing is I saw, we love our friends Alex and Josh. They were both on the team of he should have scored. Why would he not have? And I get that. Like, listen, 10 points is better than 7. And I know Alex even brought up the point of is that technically point differential is a tiebreaker coming to the playoffs. But
I honestly did not know that.
Yeah, for that to happen, anarchy has to set in pretty much because it has to get real.
You have
crazy.
to have teams that are absolutely deadlocked in standings and divisional records and conference records and head-to-head matchups and whatnot.
And then strength of victory and the odds of strength of victory being the same is minuscule. So the chances of that happening are...
We're forgetting about the important part here. The Bengals covered with that.
They did, which I did not. I stayed away from the spread in that game for that exact reason. But I mean... So for me, it was one of those things. When he was running, I was like, go down, just lay down. Just win 10-7. I don't care. Just because I've seen crazy things happen to the Bengals over the years. And thankfully, it didn't end up happening. As soon as the field goal was missed, I was like, okay, we're fine. But if that field goal would have been made and that onside kick would have happened, I would have, I'd have been a nervous man. And the meme that I was editing, I would have had to have deleted immediately because I was causing myself bad luck while I was working on it. The second question from this is one that I touched on a few minutes ago. How should we feel about the defense right now for the Bengals? They have, up until Sunday, been bad. Real bad. Atrocious. On Sunday, they looked really good. Well, maybe not really good. They looked good against a offense who is missing their best receiver, has a average quarterback. Average? What'd you say?
Below average.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
I
average
guess
to slightly below average quarterback when he's playing really good.
If you're listing the top 32 starting quarterbacks, what is he in? Like the 16 to 20 range?
I'd put him at like 20 to 24 range. But
so he's average to below average, kind of in that realm. If he's playing well, he's doing that. How much better do you feel? Because like as Lisa says, this was really the first game that the defense was entirely healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel terrible about it. I mean, we got to kind of think here about the 2 really bad games we've seen from the defense, which are the games against the Commanders in the game against the Commanders and the game against the Ravens, and
2 really good offenses.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, the evidence is kind of spoken in this first 6 weeks of the season is that the Commanders and the Ravens, one, have extremely mobile quarterbacks who also can throw the ball downfield with fairly high efficiency. And, they've proven to be top 5 offensive units so far, I think, or at least top 10 for the Commanders. I mean, the Ravens are definitely a top 5 offensive unit in the league. So, I mean, those are two games where you caught the really bad end of variance because of how good those offenses are. But we also got to think those 2 weeks, I mean, our pass rush just wasn't there. Trey, I think, has been dealing with injuries for a couple of weeks there. You obviously didn't have BJ Hill at full strength in the Ravens game.
Didn't have Sheldon Rankins.
Sheldon Rankins didn't come back until this game. So, I mean, the defense is healthier now. Hopefully they can do better. And also another shout out in this game. I think McKinley Jackson had a sneaky good game. I mean, he only had 12 snaps, but he had 4 pressures on 12 of those snaps.
I did like the one play. I think Chris Collinsworth made a moment of it.
Chris,
and he broke through. And he didn't realize he got through so quick. And he was like, wait a second, what? And he could have made it.
He thought it was BJ Hill that did that. It wasn't him.
Yeah, it was McKinley Jackson. Yeah, it was just kind of funny. I was like, oh, look at you, McKinley. Go, dude.
Yeah. So, I think if they can stay healthy now, the part that I'm a little concerned about is the coverage unit now, is how you fix that, because it's not like the coverage has been great. Who knows how the coverage would have responded if Malik Neighbors was out there on Sunday night, and how to deal with a guy like him. I mean, it's a little bit easier when you're dealing with guys like Darius Slayton, who is good, but he's definitely not Malik Neighbors good. He's not Justin Jefferson. He's not Jamar Chase, or, he's a solid receiver. I mean, he's not even like a Terry McLaurin or an Amari Cooper. So, I mean, it's easier for them to deal with that type of stuff. And also, I mean, you had Daniel Jones, a bottom, maybe not a bottom tier, but a below average quarterback throwing the ball to those guys.
Yeah, and it'll be really interesting to see. And luckily, they get to run into the offensive juggernaut that is the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. I think it's perfect time for us to jump into the Battle of Ohio, the Boo, on Sunday as the Cincinnati Bengals travel to Cleveland to take on the Browns. Mick, Browns offense.
So I don't know the exact statistic, but I checked the mic, hit on this after the Eagles game. And for the longest standing period of time, the lowest EPA per play total for 6 games, I believe, through 6 games in a season, belonged to the 2009 Raiders, which was quarterbacked by the illustrious Jamarcus Russell. And that record has since been broken this season by he who shall not be named, because he is a piece of garbage, both off the field and now on the field, which is very poetic to see.
The Browns offense. Let's at least just go with some stats here, or facts here. First off, Deshaun Watson, apparently he's still starting. They're not going to go to Jameis Winston, although, Mick, I'm not surprised if they try to pull a fast one, and they slide Jameis in there and they hope nobody notices on Sunday. Amari Cooper, yep, he's gone. He's gone to the Bills.
I'm so glad he moved too, because I got him on a fantasy team and he hasn't been doing jack squat this year for me.
Nick Chubb.
Hopefully that changes.
Nick Chubb is back, though, on Sunday. This is coming as somebody who has Nick Chubb on my bench for fantasy. I've had him stashed there all year, and I am not sure how confident I would be in starting him. The stats for this Browns offense, historically bad. You mentioned one of them, Mick. They're the first team in 10 years to not score more than 18 points in any of their first 6 games. Some of the stuff by the numbers here. You ready for these, Mick?
Yeah.
These are so bad that, it's hard for me to, make these up if I wanted to. So yards per play. Just a very basic stat. 3.9 yards per play.
Holy cow.
That is 0.4 yards per play less than the next lowest. And if Mick, you know stats 0.4, that's a drastic difference. 3.7 net passing yards per attempt. That means that every time Deshaun Watson throws the ball, they're only getting 3.7 yards. To put things into perspective, the Bengals are 6.9. Nearly double. Expected points added, which is an analytic. I'm not sure how much I like it, but it's complicated. But the long story short is just how much your offense is doing to help you score points to win games. Is pretty much the best. So it'll be like how many points you're supposed to get based on what you do get. Their offense, negative 64 expected points. Far and away the last in the league. Again, the Bengals, 55.1. Nearly a 100-point differential in that. I got one more here for you, Mick. On third downs for the Browns offense, they are converting on, do you know the stat?
No.
What percentage do you think the Browns are on third down this year?
20 to 25%.
19.
Okay, I was close.
You were close. 19%. But ironically enough, they lead the league in fourth down attempts and have converted 62.5% of those. So they just need to make every play fourth down, and maybe their offense will be bad. And then the other stat, they lead the league in sacks given up. 31 sacks allowed this year for the Browns offensive line.
You think they missed Bill Callahan a little bit? Just a smidge.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidge.
Just a smidge. But like this offense, like I had been, and I haven't watched a bunch of Browns games this year, so I've watched bits and pieces and so on. I've not sat down and watched an entire game just because, well, they haven't been on locally for me to watch. But I'm not sure I really realized that they were as bad as I've been hearing they had been bad. They're really bad, their offense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe Deshaun Watson and Kevin Stefanski has just lost the locker room on the offensive side of the football. I mean, the receiving core just hasn't done anything either to get open. The run game has not been good this year. I mean, either from a run blocking perspective or, Jerome Ford just really isn't that guy. But the offense has just been it's been miserable to watch for him, and I'm enjoying every single second of it.
It is like, it's so bad that at some point you're just like, it can't be this bad. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that, and it shouldn't worry me. That's just, it's like, it at some point, they're going to have to be at least little league or peewee football like. I mean, you could go literally on Saturday morning, Mick, walk over to the Boone County Football Peewee League. They're over on off of
Houston,
off of Caton
or Hopeful Church.
Hopeful Church, yeah, off of Hopeful Church. Go see. I think they call it Sean Alexander Field now. You could probably walk in there, and you could see better offense being run there by 8-year-olds than what has been run by the Browns so far this season.
Yeah. Now, there is kind of an unknown factor with the offense to discuss for the preview of this game, and that is the return of Nick Chubb. It feels like it's been an eternity since we've seen him on the football field. Obviously, had the gruesome knee injury in week 2 of last year, but just a thing to keep an eye on here. I mean, the last full season Nick Chubb played, had over 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, was top 10 in yards after contact, top 15 in breakaway run rate. So, I mean, that is something that that is an unknown factor in this game. How good is Nick Chubb going to be when he comes back? How himself he's going to be, I guess, is another way to put it, when he comes back on Sunday. So that's one thing that I'm just kind of having some cautious optimism about with the Bengals defense. The Browns offense has been historically bad, but they might be getting their best offensive player back this week, depending on how he's rebounded from that knee injury. So that's just something to kind of to take note of.
I don't know. Always one of the favorite questions, 2 years ago or so on, is if you could add one player from another AFC North team to the Bengals, who would you want? Well, and if it was an offensive player 2 years ago, it would have been Nick Chubb.
It would have been Nick Chubb.
It would have been Nick Chubb without question. Now, if it's a defensive player, we can go to their defense, and there's a guy that is a psychopath on their defense in more ways than one, and that is Myles Garrett. He's still there. I mean, his PFF grade is still elite, over a 90. Now, the stats aren't necessary. I mean, only 3 sacks this year, Mick?
Yeah, only 3 sacks. I don't think he has a lot of pressures or QB hits either. He's just winning pass rush, but I mean, teams just know to get the ball out as soon as they can when they play these guys.
Because
So,
he's really good. But I
yeah,
think the best part is that he doesn't have a Jadeveon Clowney on the other side this year.
not this year,
Yes.
and that's something to really take a note of. I mean, it's Zadarius Smith.
Thank you. Yeah.
Has
Or
had a
Zadarius
huge-
Smith, yeah.
Yeah, he's had a huge drop off in production when comparing it to last year. I mean, this year has a 65 pass rush grade, which is okay. 16.4% pass rush win rate. Again, it's decent. But last year, I mean, he posted an 87 grade, a 20% pass rush win rate. And then also, I mean, other players like Shelby Harris is having a down year as well. So it's Myles Garrett producing at the same level as he has, but these other pass rushers aren't producing at the same rate as they were last year, which is something that I found to be a little surprising given how dominant they were in pass rush last year.
Myles Garrett has been dealing with some foot issues. I know he went through an MRI late in September as well. How much of that is maybe impacting him? And I mean, we don't really know. But still, the sacks aren't there, but he is still a force, and he always seems to play extremely well than against the Bengals. Now, I think, right in here, I feel the Giants D-line is better than the Browns. And I think that's a fair point, but I do think that, in fact, I don't think, I know that Garrett is better than anyone on the Giants defensive line. Brian Burns is a freak, and Dexter Lawrence is really good, but I'd still take Garrett over anyone on that defensive line.
Yeah.
But the Giants 2-3-4 is better than the Browns 2-3-4.
Yeah. I mean, right now they are, for sure.
Yes. A couple of defensive stats.
Mhm.
Or do you have some stats that you wanted to bring up here?
No stats, but you go ahead and bring up the stats, and then, yeah.
Browns defense, one of only 5 teams that only have 1 interception. So they're not forcing a lot of turnovers there. Here's an interesting stat for you, Mick. They are 3rd in the league in average depth of target against. So depth of target is, air yards on how far down the field that you're passing. So theoretically, what this is telling me is that teams are going deep against them. Now, what does that necessarily mean? I don't know. But could this mean a Jermaine Burton game?
Or just a really good Jamar Chase game.
I was more trying to throw one out there for you, Mick. That
just trying to bait me into talking about why Jermaine Burton isn't on the field. And no reason why other than he might not know the playbook. You don't need the playbook to go and run a 9 route, by the way. Not that hard to do. You just run.
Burton is not hurt. He is not hurt. He is a healthy scratch.
Yeah. He's still learning. Anyways, but the coverage for the Browns has just been a major disappointment this year. And I wonder, are the teams figure out Jim Schwartz's defense where they're just starting to throw the ball down the field and hoping, and the Browns kind of hoping that their defensive backs, cover opposing receivers, good enough for them to win games. And the defense still hasn't been bad, by the way. Their defense is still a top 10 unit. But MJ Emerson or Martin Emerson Jr., whatever you want to call him, he's had a really rough start to the year, posting a 41 coverage grade on the season after having like a high 60s grade last year. He's given up 4 touchdowns and 127.4 passer rating. So guys like him, Greg Newsom's kind of having a down year right now as well. Denzel Ward,
he's been fine.
Been okay.
Mm-hmm.
The safeties haven't been great. Juan Thornhill, I don't know if I don't even know if he's been playing or not, but the coverage unit as a whole just hasn't been as good. Definitely not as good as they were last year, and hasn't been up to par with what they need to be.
We mentioned their pass rush. They're the 3rd highest blitz percentage in the league this year. They trail only the Broncos and the Vikings in that stat. 38.2% of snaps they're blitzing.
Do you know who loves the blitz?
Who loves the blitz? He does.
Joe Burrow loves the blitz.
What's interesting, though, about this is that 38.2%, they're only turning those into a pressure 21% of the time, which is middle of the road in the NFL. To put things into perspective, the Vikings and the Broncos, who we mentioned, are above them, and they're not above them by much. I think the Broncos are 42 and the Vikings are at 41. in that realm. They're both top 5, but the Browns are 15th or 16th in that category of only turning them into pressures of 21.1. And I think that leads into kind of what we were talking about a few minutes ago of they have Myles Garrett, who is a freak, but they're missing that other guy. And in a lot of realms, you could say that might be kind of like the Bengals. They've got a freak in Trey Hendrickson, but the question is there another guy on there? And the Bengals are hoping that B.J. Hill or Miles Murphy or Sheldon Rankins can kind of turn in, and maybe it doesn't need to necessarily be one of those guys. It could maybe be a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of that to kind of fit in to help balance Trey Hendrickson. Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons you saw Trey Hendrickson have a good game on Sunday, or a better game on Sunday against the Giants. But also in that realm, they're tied for second in tackles for a loss. So they're still getting to that next level and making plays that way. The defense, like you said, they're not quite as elite as they have been the past couple of years, but they're definitely not bad by any means.
No. And I think that's why this is still going to be a close game. I mean, I still think the defense is still got a lot of room to grow. We don't know how good Nick Chubb's going to be in this game. Then the offense is dealing with one of the better defensive units that they've played against this season still. And I mean, we've all saw the first game of last year. Now, how much of that was Joe Burrow's calf? It was probably a lot to do with Joe Burrow's calf and also bad weather game. And
it also was first game of the season, which the Bengals never play well in. Like, let's be real.
Whoa!
Wow, I missed that. Andrew Thomas has ended up on season-ending IR. I missed that.
Wow.
I don't even know what Linsfrack. What is that?
I don't know. It sounds nasty.
Linsfrack injury. Or Lisfrack. Foot injury that involves the bones and ligaments of the midfoot. Ooh. Interesting.
Ouch.
That doesn't sound
it's like plantar fasciitis on steroids.
You did. Right, I completely missed that. Season-ending surgery. Wow. That's terrible. You ready to jump in to make some picks here?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it.
Bengals at the Browns, 1:00 on CBS. Spiro Ditas and Adam Archuleta will be on the call. I think Spiro's really good. Coming from a broadcaster, I don't know if you know who he is, Mick, but he's really good. That's like CBS's 4th or 5th crew, which kind of surprised me that they're that low on the chopping block as far as this game, just based on the other ones. I always like to try to guess and predict who I think will be at the game, but still it'll be Spiro and Adam. The referee, Mick. Oh, buddy. Our old friend, Ron Torbert, will be the referee on Sunday. Bengals 9-5 in Ron Torbert games in his career.
Oh, they are?
But he has done a lot of big games. Most notably, the Super Bowl. AFC Championship loss. He was the ref at the Ravens in 2017, which you may remember as 4th and 12.
Oh, yeah.
He was the ref for 2019 against the Jets, a.k.a. known as first win of the Zach Taylor era.
Yeah.
And it also was the fewest points allowed in the Zach Taylor era. Well, I guess they only allowed 6 in that game, so the Giants technically was more than that.
Yeah.
But still, it was the fewest points allowed since that point. Chiefs at home when they won the division in 2021-2022 season, the Super Bowl season. The Ravens playoff win, and then also the 49ers last year. So there have been a lot of big games that Ron Torbert has done, obviously most notably highlighted by the Super Bowl and the AFC Championship loss. But yeah, just bringing those facts without any other conversation, right? Nothing more needs to be said. Some picks coming in. Frank says 24-17 Bengals. We have one 31-16 Bengals. Riley says 27-13 Bengals. Mick, what do you have?
I'm going to go a little bit closer, or a lot closer. I think this is going to be another kind of ugly game. I think it's going to be a nail biter. I mean, it's a division game. I think the Browns defense is still really good. And it's kind of like, the Browns offense is bad, the Bengals defense is bad, and then the Browns offense is or the Browns defense is good and the Bengals offense is good. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going to go 21-20 Bengals.
Wow, they give up 20 points. The Browns finally score 20 points in a game.
Yeah.
They do. Mick Bickers, the other Mick, he's saying 17-7 Bengals. I didn't know that there would be two Micks. I don't know. Can the world handle that?
No.
I was going to say, I think that's way too many. A third one, and I think the world would explode. I am agreeing completely. I remember on last week's show, I said that I thought the Giants game was going to be ugly, and I was correct there. And I think this game on Sunday, in my eyes, is going to make us feel the same exact way. It's going to make us go gray a little bit. Lisa says 37-17 Bengals. I hope so. I hope so.
Too.
I hope so. My little heart needs that. I'm going to say Bengals 16-10 against the Browns.
Okay.
Kind of a weird game. Maybe a missed extra point in there, or maybe it's just a bunch of field goals that help them get to the 16 mark. Maybe a safety. I don't know. No, I'm not going to predict another safety for the Bengals. But I'm going to say 16-10. The Bengals beat the Browns on Sunday. And if he is active, I'm going to make the call right here. If he's active, we're going to get a Jermaine Burton big play. If he's active.
Jermaine Burton tutty.
I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but we're going to get a catch of at least 35 yards from him.
Okay.
You heard it here first. Go make your bets on DraftKings. Right?
Yeah. Or yeah, whatever sports book you want.
Yes. Maybe one day we'll sign with a sports book, Mick, and we can say, no, you use this one. Because we can be bought without question when it comes to that. We can easily
100%.
be bought. We thank you for tuning in, though, to today's edition of the podcast. We'll be back next week for another edition of the show. Hopefully another victory show next week against the Browns. And then, we get to preview the Eagles coming up next week, which is a interesting game as well.
Yeah.
Nick Sirianni, maybe he'll be yelling at you after the game, Mick, like he was yelling at Browns fans last week. You never really know, right, when it comes into but I guess if you're not going to be getting down to the tailgate until 11 or 11:30, you might not be intoxicated enough to start yelling at Nick Sirianni.
I'll just drive. No, I won't do that. But speaking of Nick Sirianni, do you know he has like a guy on his sideline that helps like keeps his emotions in check? Like,
yeah,
that's crazy. That is freaking nuts.
It is, yeah, he is an interesting character. And then we didn't mention it as well, but the Max Crosby thing, it's not going to happen. Max Crosby's not going to be a Bengal. If anything else, it really can't happen, just based on cap money. Like, it can't happen.
Goodbury kind of put that thought in the dirt pretty quickly there.
I want to say the Bengals this year to grab him would automatically have to clear like $6 million in cap space based on it. Like, they have cap space, but they don't have enough cap space to grab him. And then you're moving forward as well. Like, if you're telling me that they could get Max Crosby and it not go against the cap, absolutely, I take it. Like, 100%. But it just is not mathematically possible. So wanted to at least mention that as well. Max Crosby not going to happen. And we mentioned the Amari Cooper thing. Does that make the Bills better? What about, I saw the question today on National, and this could be the last thing that we do before we wrap up. Which move is going to make the team better more? Devontae to the Jets or Cooper to the Bills?
Cooper to the Bills.
Just because the Bills don't have any right receivers, pretty much, right?
That and like Amari Cooper just seems to go on tears as soon as he lands on new teams. I mean, we've seen him do it. We saw him do it with the Cowboys when he got traded there from the Raiders. He just immediately transformed that offense and was a top 5 receiver, I think, for the remainder of that season. Obviously, it was really good for the Browns last year. And so, yeah, new team, Amari Cooper just loves to go on a tear. So, yeah, definitely Cooper to the Bills, I think.
And I agree. And as somebody who is Josh Allen as his fantasy quarterback, I'm very happy that he is actually somebody to throw to now. Because that has been the biggest issue for him.
Oh, Riley is also happy about that.
Does he have Josh Allen as his fantasy quarterback?
He's done nothing but bitch about Josh Allen for the past 6 weeks.
That doesn't sound like Riley.
Well, it's funny. It's like he started Josh Allen all 6 weeks, and he's also had Baker on his bench.
Ooh,
All
Ooh.
6 of those weeks.
ooh. Then again, I do know somebody that decided to start Justin Fields against somebody instead of Lamar Jackson against the Bengals, and I think that was a 30-point difference, right, on your bench.
Yeah, yeah. And then it came back to bite me in a couple other leagues because I started Dak over Justin Fields last week.
Oof.
Not good. And then I just had to cut Justin Fields because he's getting benched for no reason.
Do you honestly do you think he's actually getting benched?
Yes.
Or do you think this is all like? But I don't know why you would go out into the media and say, "Oh, we're not actually going to bench him." Like we're going to bench him and then not do it. But also, I love it because I want that team to be as bad as they possibly can be, and they've actually been somewhat okay.
Justin Fields has looked like a good quarterback this year. Like, I don't know what the
they're about to get dangerous, though.
Ick. That guy gives me the ick. I don't know why. He seems like a good person, but he's just a cringy
Oh,
man.
he's extremely cringy.
Like you gotta hang out in a room one-on-one with somebody for an entire day. Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers.
Can I pick death?
Well, no, because at least with Aaron Rodgers, you'd probably get like psychedelics or something, or at least he's on psychedelics and he's actually that's probably not a good thing either.
Yeah, I don't. Oh gosh, probably Russell Wilson, I guess.
No, I'd still pick Aaron Rodgers over Dangerous to hang out with.
Does Sierra come if it's Russell Wilson? Isn't that his wife?
No Sierra.
No. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have a wife. At least I don't think he does. But we're way off. We've gone from talking about Fort Campbell and Fort Knox to Sierra on today's podcast, but we at least did update you on the news headlines as well. Anything else, pop culture that you want to discuss, Mick?
No, nothing pop culture, but if you guys are going to the game in Cleveland, one, I've never been to a game in Cleveland, but anytime I've heard somebody go to a game in Cleveland, it hasn't been a great time. So I guess weather these Browns fans as much as you can.
It's the Ravens fans you got to watch out for now, right?
Why?
Did you see the video?
No.
Of the Ravens fan with a Commanders fan?
No, what happened?
You missed it? Oh, wow. This Ravens fan, they're like leaving the stadium or walking down the street or something. Somebody is calling me right now. Why are you calling me this late at night? They should know I'm hosting a podcast, right, Mick? It's somebody that I don't even know. Like, come on. But it was, and now I'm completely, it was this Ravens fan that was leaving the game, and he's talking to one of his friends who's filming and be like, I want to see a Commanders fan to punch him. And like these two Commanders fans walk by, and he literally starts attacking them. And then he goes, I never lose. And he gets fired, and now they're obviously going to be pressing charges against him.
That's so bad.
Like, just when you're done with the show today, Mick, go give it a Google.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Watch the video of the guy. Yeah, he straight up, he looked for somebody to sucker punch and knocked a dude out just because he was a Commanders fan. And then he goes like, I never lose. And now he's getting fired.
Browns fans across the board are still more despicable, in my opinion, in the opinions of a lot of others. But if you're going to the game, have a safe travel up there. Enjoy it as much as you can. Hopefully you get to see a win. And then, hopefully we get to see a win on Sunday.
I hope so. We'll see you next week on next week's edition. Jungle Juice, Hoo Day.
Hoo Day.